Hey guys, alright, it's Brett from Iron Body Martial Arts here. I run a channel on YouTube that focuses mainly on old style traditional martial arts and conditioning training, Japanese style, Chinese styles, Budo or fighting martial arts, and also some strength, endurance and toughness training, some old Kung Fu stuff as well. Been here on YouTube for about 9 years. I want to have a look today at martial arts journeys. Everyone knows this channel. It's quite a big channel on YouTube. I want to have a look at martial arts journeys video, fake ninjas exposed. Is the Bajinkin effective? And I wanted to give my opinion on that based on my experience. So what is my experience? I've been training martial arts since the age of about 15 years old, and now I'm about 34. And when I say that, I mean going to clubs, doing my own training at home, doing extra training, going to seminars. I've put a lot of time into martial arts. I also do law enforcement. I have done for like 11 years. So I've got a grasp on like what's real in the real world. I've always been interested in making things practical. So what did I get out of Bajinkin? Well, first off, I'd say you have to have the brain to take it for what it is, okay? I don't see why people can't do this. Martial arts journey, when you went into Aikido, you should have had the brain to take it for what it was. It's a Budoka's and it's a martial arts duty to look in on themselves, to spread the knowledge and to be a warrior. You become a warrior. You became a warrior after you left Aikido, yeah. And that's your journey, and that's why everyone follows you, and that's why they respect you. But just don't misunderstand that there are people who became a warrior in their own martial art or before they went to a martial art. And that's the biggest distinction here. You have to take the martial art for what it is. So what did I gain from Bajinkin? Okay, first off, Bajinkin taught me a lot of basics about actual self-defense. Now that might seem strange to you because apparently it's all garbage, but it taught me a lot of basics of self-defense, standing positions. It taught me covering attacks. One of the most important things it taught me was defensive postures. And I think that's a traditional Budo or fighting martial art idea that is really valuable in the modern day, and you see it in a lot of systems like Krav Maga and stuff like that, where instead of trying to block things, you form defensive postures. And this comes from weapon fighting, where you can't block because the hand is quicker than the eye. So you have to form a strategic position. And actually that is the core, one of the core principles in Bajinkin. All the strange stances that you see them holding in Bajinkin are just old traditional defensive postures that cover up the main areas in, like on a person in armor. They cover up like areas where the armor would be bad. They exploit areas where the armor is good, and they just so happen to also work in a bit of hand-to-hand way. So one of the best things I took from Bajinkin was the defensive postures. Okay, so when I studied Bajinkin, I also learned locks, throws, and the basics of skeletal mechanics and movement, which really helped me with jiu-jitsu and really helped me with martial arts. Okay, so balance breaking is a big part of the Bajinkin art, and I guess that comes from jiu-jitsu. It's very prevalent in judo, which came from jiu-jitsu. So just you start to learn little nuances of like when you're going to throw someone, you pull them off balance here, and then you execute your throw. And basically with regards to the locks, the chokes, the throws, the holds, you learn a lot of really old throws, old jiu-jitsu throws that you don't see anymore, you don't see in judo. You learn some specialist throws where how you would throw people in armor, and you start to realize that the throws are sometimes a lot different. And it's again a really good study in those sorts of old motions for anyone who's interested in the traditional martial arts. Some of them are applicable today, some of them are not applicable today. Some of them you may never encounter outside of the two-man kata forms, but within those forms, it's very interesting to find them out and see how and study how different strikes and different kicks would sort of slowly affect a person in maybe heavy armor. Would it ever happen in real life? Who knows? Probably wouldn't. So my footwork became very good when I was doing Bajinkin, because it's all about moving your feet to affect your attacker and distancing. My distancing, rhythm and timing was good. You know, those are the sorts of things you'd also learn in boxing or kickboxing. You know, you learn distance, rhythm, timing, how to slip and dodge and duck things. I know it sounds silly, but you inevitably pick up a sense of that, because a lot of the moves in Bajinkin involve like moving small and late to just slip things. But again, if you try to practice that at full speed, we never usually did enough full speed, full aggression practice to make it like you see some of the boxing videos where the guys are just slipping and they can really slip all these punches. But certainly if you then did go into those arts, you'd have a bit more of an idea, a bit more, you can use one or two dodges as opposed to someone who just can't do it at all. So there's a little benefit there. Okay, one of the big ones is there's a lot of weapons work in Brejinkin, and sometimes you get a bit bored of it. Like I did sword for so many years, and all the different kinds of swords, the short sword, the katana, the tachi, the longest sword. There's even bigger battlefield swords, there's pole arms and everything like that. So you do a lot of weapons, a lot of knife work, and again, a lot of it is old traditional style knife work. But then you also do, usually the instructor might mix in some modern style stuff, which in general, from my experience, the knife work I did in Bajinkin was better than the knife work I did in karate. It was better than the knife work I'd done in some jiu-jitsu classes, because that knife work was even more sort of it was the old, someone stabs you like this, you go like that. I mean, I did some taekwondo, and like the knife work we did in that, as a youngster, I did taekwondo, and the knife work we did in that was like, was really bad. I'm not saying taekwondo has bad knife defense, but the knife work you do in that was really, really, really bad. With regards to knife, actually, the higher level Bajinkin knife work and movement stuff was actually because I had a friend who did this like Kali. Is it like Kali? The knife fighting, Arnis and Kali, the knife fighting, and I found, which is a really awesome martial art with the principles and stuff and the way they move and the distance, rhythm, and timing, capturing rhythm. And the flow, and I actually found that the flow that those guys were doing, really effective, really dangerous stuff. I found lots of similarities between the higher level Bajinkin stuff and the Kali, Arnis sort of knife stuff. Really there was, again, you've got to be lucky enough to go to a good club and train with good people. But the people I trained with, and the clubs that I went to, which were some of the better ones in the UK, and in Belgium, and in France, there was always the basic stuff, but then the higher level stuff, when people had spent more time, was really more like that than it was like what you see on the internet, So that's another thing I learned. The knife and the weapon work is awesome. To go on, the stick, the different sizes of stick, the staff, the improvised weapons. Those are all things that like come in handy. And then I'll go into this for the usefulness for me in the section. But anyway, that's what I learned as well. So, okay, guys, look, this could go on forever and ever, so I'm going to stop it now. The usefulness for me, how has it helped me? Okay, so I want to say to you, like, obviously everyone's different and everyone's clubs are different. But as someone who's been a policeman for 11 years in 2 different countries, having to use you know, batons and equipment and tasers and guns and this and that and the next thing. Initially, I was a policeman in the UK for 7 years, and I didn't have access to anything other than cuff, spray, and baton, and my own movement. Okay, I would say this to you guys, and we were single crewed often. We were always single crewed actually, and your partner would come and back you up. So I'd say this to you. Okay, so bear in mind I've done lots of other martial arts, and I was a martial artist inherently. I found the stuff I learned in Bajinkin, and this is me honestly saying, so when you read a comment from someone somewhere and it says, oh, I did Bajinkin for this long and I did Bajinkin for this long and it was crap and it was this and it was that, just take a second to bear in mind that the factors that affect that are what kind of martial artist they are. Are they a martial artist? Are they a fighter at heart? Then what do they do? You know, because, you know, what did they do? What did they try and use it for? Did they do it and then try and fight in the ring? Or did they do it and have to deal with someone trying to attack them? Because this is what I'd say, based on my experience of dealing with real people and real situations with weapons or not weapons, trying to arrest people, trying to grapple with people, striking and whatnot, I found the stuff I learned in Bajinkin to be some of the most valuable stuff that I've learned in my martial arts career, and it still works to this day. And a lot of the stuff has been just as valuable to me as the stuff that I learned in BJJ. Okay, so I've used stuff. I've literally my whole career, like the whole 11 years, because I only recently started doing BJJ. My whole career, I've used stuff we talked about before. I've used that in real life with people who've really tried to fight me, really tried to hurt me. I've used techniques with the baton, which were like similar to techniques that we trained with our batons, with our knives. I've used different and strange ways of striking that people don't know or understand, unexpected ways of striking, body movement, striking with the whole body, throws, grapples, locks, chokes. I've used all these things, and all of these things I learnt in doing Bajinkin. Yeah. Now, that doesn't say I learnt them exactly the way I did them, but I learnt them and I took what I wanted, and I took time to train it outside, and I made it alive, and you know, I saw, you know, the battle, I saw I understood it. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying to you is, maybe it wasn't the best thing to learn, but it's what I learnt, and then, like all true martial artists, I then encountered situations where it worked. I encountered situations where I've put motegyaku outside wrist locks on people. I've put like the inside wrist locks on people, thrown them, broken their balance. I've done the strange, like freaking over the shoulder throws, rear naked choke, which exists inside Bujinkan because it's just a jiu-jitsu choke, lapel chokes, striking muscle bundles, you know, just all those manner of things, fine locks, to control people who grab you or whatever, or resisting. So I've literally, and this is the longest section, but I've literally done so many things, hundreds and hundreds of things that I can attribute to Bajinkin. One of the biggest things I can attribute it is just being relaxed and feeling what your opponent is doing, which is a big concept in martial arts, but it is in jiu-jitsu, it is in Bajinkin, and Bajinkin gave me the chance in the UK where I lived, in a nowhere place in the UK, rural. It gave me the chance to do, because it preserved such an old syllabus, it gave me the chance to do much better Japanese jiu-jitsu than I would have done if I went to one of our local jiu-jitsu clubs or like a karate club. I was actually closer to, because of obscurity, I don't know why, I was closer to actual Japanese martial art than I would have been if I went for one of the mainstream recognizable Japanese martial arts that have been more watered down by like Western understandings of, you know, kickboxing and oh, that doesn't work, and you know, and they get rid of stuff, but sometimes people get rid of stuff that they don't understand. So that's one of the biggest things I'd say is, I actually, here's someone who stands in front of you who's used these, and it just so happens that a lot of people I trained with as well were police force. A lot of people I trained with who come from the army, you know, they were doormen. So the climate back then was different than it is now. MMA hadn't hit the scene and it wasn't as big as it was now and everything like that. But the general gist of it is there were a lot of people around me who I considered pretty effective, you know, martial artists and self-defense people who they were in the same art and they had good things to say about it. You know, on finishing, I'll just say you have to take it for what it is. You know, none of us there, and certainly me, and now are in the headspace that, oh, we were going to take that into the UFC ring, which didn't exist back then. But you know, if you think that, you're just stupid. You know, everyone's thinking of everything to be the UFC ring, and the UFC ring's great, but it's different to outside. So everything has its place. And in finishing, I'll say this one last thing, is that if you put Conor McGregor in front of me and you put me here, I'd be shitting myself. Conor McGregor would not be shitting himself. He would look at me and go, I'm going to knock this dickhead out in one punch. Then if you gave me a stick, if you gave me just a simple stick that you would give like a monkey, you'd throw it at a monkey, you gave me a staff, and I've done staff videos, and then you pointed me at Conor McGregor for 1 second, he would look. And before, it was, all I need to do is hit this guy once and he gets knocked out. Now Conor McGregor would be going, oh shit, all this guy needs to do is hit me once and I will get knocked out. And that's like a bit of an analogy of like, you know, like, yeah, UFC is great. And yeah, I train BJJ, I train like some kickboxing now and some UFC lessons and stuff like that, or whatever you call them, MMA lessons. And I love the wrestling and I think it's really valuable. Everyone should do it. But don't forget that there are weapons on this earth. You know, there are a lot more things to deal with. And, you know, you can be the top UFC fighter, and then someone has a stick and they just whack you on the head. And sure, being a good fighter will make you be able to deal with that more, but you might not know anything about dealing with a weapon. And that's why I think martial arts journey has been a bit kind of irresponsible in his thing, because, you know, like, you've got to take it for what it is. There's a tick in the box there if you're martial art, at least. Maybe it doesn't teach you to fight in the octagon, but it teaches you how to use weapons, you know. That's a good thing, you know. You know, guns are a different story. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on that, guys. Please do like and comment. Get back to me. I'm sure if anyone watches this video to this point, they'll probably flame the hell out of it. But have a time to think and let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll probably release this in another video as well. But yeah, have a good one and keep those minds open. Thanks a lot.